Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing our first watercolor painting with a bird silhouette in it in this beginner series that I am doing. I will have the bird that we are using over on my blog for you to download and trace onto your watercolor paper. So if you would like that, head on over. If not, feel free to try to sketch this out freehand. You definitely could do this if you take a little bit of extra time and try. So head over there if you would like that free download. Okay, so there we have our bird, and now we can go into our paint. We are actually going to paint this section of it last, but we needed to have all of that in place so we could add our flat backwash to this painting. So I'm going to take my size 6 round brush that we've been using in a lot of our videos already, and we are going to fill up with clean water this entire section, all the paper, the entire page with water. And you should just use basic pencil to sketch in. You definitely don't want any ink on here. If for some reason you do want to have ink, you can use waterproof ink, but if you use any other kind of ink, it is just going to bleed all over the place. So now I'm going into my yellow ochre paint, and I'm going to start from the bottom actually, and I'm going to paint upwards, just horizontally, going back and forth. I'm going to get a little bit more paint. And like I said, I'm just going back and forth all the way up the painting. Very basic. And then I'm going to take a little bit more water on my brush. I'm going to go back into my yellow ochre and get a really thick mixture. And then I am going to take just the absolute smallest amount of cobalt blue, and I'm going to add that to my yellow ochre. And this is going to muddy up my paint just enough to give it a little bit of a darker hue. And this goes back into when we talked about our color wheel. And that blue is opposite of yellow on the color wheel. So it creates a more muddied color and gives a very natural shadowing to the paint. And this is something that you will end up using a lot as you paint and just needing those very quick tips on how to change up your painting and just get a natural darker color without adding black to everything. So I'm adding a little bit more of that blue. I'm adding that in at the tippity top because we want this to kind of be, we want it to be a gradient, and we want it to look like this bird is kind of sitting, going into the night at a sunset. And there we go, I like how that looks. And then I'm going to get a little bit more water on my brush to lighten up the color, to blend it all the way down. And then I think that looks really good. We are going to leave it like that. We're going to let this completely dry. And then we will come back and we will paint in our silhouette. Okay, so now that everything has dried, we are going to go in with our black paint. I'm taking I switched over to my size 6 round brush. I'm going to get it to where it has that nice fine tip at the end so it's slightly damp. And I'm going to go into my black paint, and I'm just going to go straight black, try to get it as thick and dark as I can get it. And I do this just by adding a little bit of water and getting a lot of that paint reactivated. And then I'm just tapping off any of that excess paint on a separate sheet, on a piece of paper towel. And then I'm going to start with my tree branch. Just going to follow down the marks that I've already made. And if you're just freehanding this, it's okay to just let your hand be super loose with it. This isn't the time you want to be super precise with like a tree. It's really a fun way to practice because you can be very wobbly and you don't have to think about making like a perfectly straight line every time. You can kind of just let go and let the brush kind of move. And that's the beauty of watercolor too, is if you let it just move, it's gonna look so natural and beautiful anyway. So that's just the nature of the loose watercolor. So we're just gonna keep going up for these branches as we work our way up this tree trunk. Right now I have a really good amount of paint on my brush. But if for some reason you need to stop and you need to get more paint, definitely feel free to do that. You don't want any bride brush technique right now. You want all of this to be very similar in the consistency that it is, because this is our very up close tree branch. We want it to feel dark and be our really dark silhouette for this part. Right, and then up here there's some flowers, so I'm just going to lightly kind of brush in some flower shapes. Doesn't have to be perfect by any means. And then just kind of some little circle-ish shapes for the leaves that you see. And then there's going to be a couple more that just kind of pop up at the top. Just like that. I'm going to get a little bit more paint on my brush. And then now we're going to go underneath our bird. So I'm going to use the very tip of my brush just to go up along that line that I previously drew and just create that tree branch right there. Make it a little bit thicker here at the where it connects to the actual tree. And then to do our bird, again, just make sure you have a lot of that black. You want it to be really thick, not too watery. And I'm just going to kind of make some fanning motions going up, just because I don't want it, I want it to still feel like there's highlight and a little bit of natural. And then just start following that outline. You don't need any detail to this at all. The most detail that we are going to create is that little feathering at the tip of the tail. And then after that, you just want it to be nice and dark to give off that silhouette. You can use a smaller brush if you want to do with like the edges. And then use this larger brush to fill in the inside of the bird. It's just kind of up to your comfort level. And you could try it a few different ways too, just to kind of see what you like. All right, I'm going to get a little bit more black paint on my brush, just because I felt like it was thinning out toward the top of the bird. I'm just going to go back in and add another quick second coat, I think, to our little bird here. Just like that. And then with the very tip of my brush, I'm going to add in the little tiny feet to the bird. Just like that. And then again, just because I'm actually going to add a little bit darker paint over here. It really looked like as that dried, it started to fade. So you can go back at this point and you can add in a little bit more black if you want to the tree branch. You can even just add some shadowing if you want. Just really felt like right up there where it's supposed to be very dark, kind of started going gray on me a little bit. All right, I'm going to water down my brush quite a bit, but I'm going to still have that black on it. And like I always like to do, I'm just going to do some splatter because it's a lot of fun, and I just feel like it really adds to a very simple painting. And there you have a very easy, beginner-friendly painting. Thanks so much again for following along. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please let me know over on Instagram by tagging me, letting me see your artwork, and I hope to see you back for my next video. Bye.